I went to my New York City internship summer after freshman year. I basically got spooked, I guess you could say, the first weekend I was there. Flew myself home crying because I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends. Put my big girl pants on and I went back to New York City and I made a promise. I am gonna talk to the first person that I'm in the elevator with. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Intern Queen YouTube channel. We are back in the office, in studio with our original production crew where it all started, and it feels good. As you guys know, I've been doing those videos from home, oftentimes with my husband as the cameraman, and while we are good, we are not that good. So really excited. Today's video is how to get a big city internship. And you guys can get that big city internship. And I'm gonna walk you through that process and what it looks like. So many of you wanna intern in big cities like New York, LA, San Francisco, Chicago. Nashville's popping up on the list a lot. Austin, Texas, Denver, Colorado. So I'm here to walk you through with a 3-part video on how to land that big city internship. So before I dive into my advice, I feel like I have to tell you that I am not just giving you advice, but I've personally done the thing, right? I went to New York City after my freshman year of college and did an internship there. And then I went to Los Angeles after my sophomore year and again after my junior year of college. So I say this from experience, it is possible. I also like to follow that up with my family did not have any fancy job connections for me. And I didn't go to a very fancy school. I went to Florida State University and then to University of Central Florida in Orlando. These are not big fancy internship schools by any means. So if I can do it, you guys can do it. Don't forget, subscribe to our channel, click the bell so that you get an email every time we have a new video, and that's usually every other week. And make sure to leave any questions or comments underneath the video because we do read them. Not only that, we actually build our content schedule based on what you write. So first of all, it's just that search process. How does that work? So I think you want to narrow that search to the city that you want to intern in or work in after college, during college. Now, you might have 2 cities, fine, go for the 2 cities, but really try to narrow it down. I think the internship search can be really tricky when you're trying to intern in 7 different cities at the same time. So focus on your top 1 or 2 for the search. You're gonna follow all of our traditional internship search advice. We will link a bunch of relevant videos in the description box below. But you really want to see, first and foremost, who do you even know, right? So if I wanted to intern in Nashville, the first thing I would probably do is go to LinkedIn and I would filter my search by people in Nashville and I would start going through and I would make notes. Who do I know and where do they work? Who are the people that I haven't talked to in 2 years, but oh, they're in Nashville. My mom's friend, my professor, so-and-so, whoever it is, who are those people? I'd go through that and I'd make a note. And then I would start reaching out to those people to get an idea of the scene. I would also do some research online, just some general research. Let's say I wanna work at a marketing agency. What are the top 10 marketing agencies in Nashville? I wanna work at a magazine. What are the top 10 magazines in Nashville? So it's gonna be a combination of research on LinkedIn and just Google searching, and that's gonna help you put together your list of target companies where you wanna intern in that big city. And honestly, then you're just gonna block the time. We have another video on how to start your summer internship search that I'll make sure to link here that goes into more specifics. But you gotta block that time, you gotta put the applications out, and you have to use my 2X rule. And my 2X rule means that you don't just send out a job application. You have to force yourself to take 2 additional steps, right? So I apply to work at LinkedIn. I can't stop there. I cannot allow myself to stop there. I have to take 2 additional actions to try to connect with that company. That could be sending them a DM, right, on Instagram. That could mean seeing if any alumni from my school work there. 2 extra steps, and I think that's gonna be really key. And just to take it back to my personal story, my first New York City internship was at Backstage, a theater trade publication in New York, and I had a huge list. Didn't even really know what Backstage was, just knew it was a magazine or newspaper in New York City, but I went down my list, I put a ton of applications out, and that's where I ended up landing the position. Part 2, you get an internship opportunity. How do you plan for budget? How do you deal with the finances of maybe moving to a new city for the summer? And how do you negotiate relocation? So I'm gonna start with the latter. Negotiating relocation. There are some internships where you will apply and it will be very clear in that internship listing that relocation fees are covered. This is really popular for finance or any STEM, including engineering internship positions. A lot of those big companies are going to give you a really nice offer. Other companies are not even going to talk to you about relocation. So I always say, get the job offer, get the internship offer, then deal with all the questions, right? When you get that offer, you have leverage and you can start asking for things like, well, if this is going to be virtual, are you covering any work from home expenses? Or if I'm going to a big city for this internship, can you help with any relocation costs? Or I'm going to be staying at my aunt's house in New Jersey, so can you cover my subway ticket or my train ticket every day, right? So get the offer and then ask the questions. In terms of planning for the finances, I have a video from a couple years ago and it was specifically how to create that summer internship budget. So I'm gonna link that video here, but it's basically a matter of writing down all of the expenses that you're going to incur over the course of the internship, and then looking at your bank account, looking at your job, your ability to generate income. If the internship is paid, which hopefully it is at this point, it's a matter of looking at what the expenses are going to be versus what your income is currently, what your savings is, and what your income can be at that internship. Things you're going to want to take into consideration, of course, like meals and entertainment, but then you're also going to want to take into consideration the cost of living in that city. I'll go through some resources for that in just a second, but make sure you know how much is it going to cost to live in New York. Estimate the cost for meals and dining. Do you have to take the subway every day for work? How much is a subway pass going to cost? So put together all of these things and then you guys can make decisions and goals on what the financial situation is. In terms of additional planning for this big city internship, you're going to want to look into housing options. Now, no matter what city you go to, subletting is always going to be a great idea. And the summer that I came to Los Angeles, that's exactly what I did. A friend and I said, we're going to share a room. We're going to find a sublet in someone's apartment. And that's exactly what we found. We found someone really amazing and special. And she had a 2-bedroom apartment in West Hollywood in California. My friend and I split the cost down the middle and we shared one room in this 2-bedroom apartment. So we had access to the kitchen and all of that. And it was actually a really great situation. So subletting is a great option for you. Another option to look into, regardless of city, is what universities open their doors over the summer to interns who want to pay to live there. New York City probably does the best job of this and they probably have the most options, but schools like NYU, that's where I stayed, but they have the NYU summer program where if you're not a student, you can pay to live there and you can take advantage of all the amenities, the gym, you can pay extra to get on the meal plan, etc. So in cities like New York, I think it's the easiest to buy into the campus housing, but I would definitely look into that in every other city just to see what the options are. So hopefully that's some information about planning, budgeting, and relocation. And then last but not least, how do you deal with being new? I'm sure I've told this story on the YouTube channel before, but I'll tell it again briefly. I went to my New York City internship summer after freshman year. I knew nobody. I was living at the dorms at NYU. I basically got spooked, I guess you could say, the first weekend I was there. Flew myself home back to Florida crying because I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends, and it just hit me, and I got sort of spooked. So then I put my big girl pants on and I went back to New York City and I made a promise and I said, I am gonna talk to the first person that I'm in the elevator with, right? I'm just gonna put myself out there. I'm gonna make a friend. I hadn't had to make new friends in a while. So I get in the elevator at NYU. I start talking to someone and she ends up inviting me to go to her room to watch The Real World. Dating myself a little bit, although The Real World is still on. She ended up becoming, her name is Allie, and she is one of my closest friends today. She lives in New York City. And I say that to just say that it's possible. Everyone's trying to make friends. It's always hard when you're in a new situation or a new environment, but I think you really have to lean in, put yourself out there, be the person that says, hey, fellow interns, I'll be in charge of our group text, right? I will set the group dinner. I'll coordinate the thing. As a new mom, I'm going through a lot of that right now, trying to make mom friends, especially through Zoom, COVID land. And it was definitely challenging. And I really just tried to be the person who would make the group chat and the person who would say, we should all grab dinner. And while it feels awkward at the beginning, you hear afterward that people appreciate it because everyone's feeling the same way and everyone wants to meet people. All right, I think we've done it. Those are some tips to get that big city internship, but let me again remind you, this is completely possible. So block the time, remind yourself that you can do this. It's perfect timing for you guys to watch this video and to get that big city internship, especially for this coming summer. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks, everybody.